The January 19th, 2023 meeting of the Corvallis School Board is called to order at 6:35 p.m. In the interest of public health and safety for all community members, especially for immunocompromised individuals and their families, the Corvallis School Board will continue to offer a virtual option for board member and district personnel participation. Additionally, public comment is available at some meetings, both in person and virtually. Information about how to provide public comment is available on the Corvallis School District website. The board agenda and packet, as well as the link to the district YouTube channel, are available on the school board page on the district website. Public meetings are live streamed on the district's YouTube channel, and a recording is posted to the same channel, typically the day after the meeting. Tonight we have Directors Whitebear, Director Baker, myself, Director Finger McDonald, Director Jones, Director Tomini, and Director Abdura in attendance in person. Director Adams will be joining us in person later on. The first item on our agenda tonight is board member reports. Does anyone have a report to give tonight? Lou?
I just wanted to say that I enjoyed going to more listening sessions over break and into the first part of school coming back, and it was really awesome to hear from the community. I'm looking forward to seeing how everything is compiled and with all the feedback. I attended most of them, not all of them, because we have to share, and so but I really enjoyed the opportunity to hear directly from community members and families in that capacity. So yeah, that was all.
I also attended those listening sessions, as I think 4 or 5, I can't remember. And I want to express my gratitude to the community members and students and staff who took part. We had some really valuable conversations, and we look forward to getting the report in March about the information we were given. I think this is a really important part of that goal-setting process and an important evolution of our goal-setting process. I also, in my role as liaison to the Corvallis Public Schools Foundation, got to speak with some of the candidates for their executive director position. They have some really good candidates who, I think it reflects how attractive that organization is to work for, and that people really believe in the mission, and it feels good that they've got candidates that I feel like will build that organization and its role in supporting our schools and our students. And I hope everyone had a good break. So that's me. Anything else? Are we good?
Okay, there we go. The Bond Oversight Committee had the opportunity to tour Adams Elementary at our meeting this month, and it was really exciting to see the ongoing work and just with the continuing bond work in our community, but watching those spaces transform into more dynamic learning spaces for our kids. And so if you've not yet, community members had an opportunity to go see any of the building projects in person, I would encourage you to find a way to do that. They're continuing to wrap up, but yeah, just check it out. It's really neat to see the investment that our community made in person.
Thank you. So next is a report from Director Al-Adraba, who serves on the boards for the Oregon School Board Association and the National School Boards Association. And he is going to provide us with information about those organizations.
Thank you very much. So as you mentioned, in my role this year as President-elect at Oregon School Board Association, board member representing Pacific region for NSBA, I'd be sharing written reports in future meetings about what both organizations are doing, local community and state. Among those, the first update that I'll be looking forward to share is my visit to Washington, D.C., representing OSBA and NSBA in the Equity Symposium. I'll be joining Melissa Harder, who is Goff. So, Melissa Goff. School boards, and we're going to draw on some input, the Color Caucus from Oregon, and some best practices. Also, the advocacy and an opportunity from to meet senators and representatives at Capitol Hill and to advocate for issues of highest importance. Among those issues that I look forward to share is full funding for IDEA to support students with experiencing disabilities and have support from the federal government to fund that. And also we're expecting some sort of a farm bill, and that could be a really great opportunity for universal free lunch for all students and cut the red tape that requires students to go through a process to qualify. So I look forward to advocate for these issues, and I wanted to ask you and anyone from the community if there are any issues that we would like to push forward. I look forward to hearing those. So that's my report for today, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sammy. Next is our superintendent's report.
All right, so first off, January is Board Recognition Month, and so at our next meeting, we will be recognizing you. We had planned to do that this evening, but some plans have changed, so stay tuned, be present next Thursday night, and we'll be recognizing you then. So thanks, but again, I do, tongue-in-cheek on that part, but I do really appreciate the work that you all do, and we do want to really honor you, and so we're going to be doing that at our next meeting because that is the way that the schedule has worked for participants to be joining us. So that will be coming up next Thursday night. I also wanted to recognize and highlight the board engagement sessions that have just taken place. So we finished up, overall, we had students participating and community members and staff, and so we had over 200 participants. That information will be coming to you in a report in March, highlighting themes that were heard and information that will be valuable to you as you revise and update your school board goals. Again, we really worked hard to make sure there were different spaces that we could be a part of and community members that we could meet with. So we met with a diversity, equity, and inclusion group that Shauna and Lou also sit on. Students advocating for equity, so we met with our SAFE and PRIDE students. We met with our Special Education Advisory Council, and we met in both English and Spanish, so we were able to hear many voices that way. We also had a session that was co-sponsored by NAACP and Casa Latinos Unidos. And then we had 3 open sessions at schools as well. And out of that, we had, again, over 200 people give input into what's going well, what are areas for improvement, talking about our board goals that we currently have. Are there things missing? Are there things that need additional detail and information? So that will all be really valuable to us. Ideally, we'll be able to finish that process of developing and revising those school board goals by the end of this year. So by the end of the school year, with the current board recognizing that there will be elections and potentially new board members, we want to have that done and fully developed. So that's the plan as of now, moving forward. Also, recently you completed a board self-evaluation. So next week, Kristen Miles from OSBA will come to meet with all of us and review that board self-evaluation. Kim had shared some questions to be prepared for, but again, I think the ones that are most important is what meaning do you make out of what you see? So what do you see in the trends? Also, would you like to do next with this information? So how does it lead to continued improvement? And then finally, how do you see that playing into the scope of the work of the project? And this year that project is board goal revision. So be thinking about those things, and please have an opportunity or take the opportunity to review before the meeting so we can dig right into that and move forward. Earlier tonight, actually right before the meeting, we met with 3 school board members and some of our student representatives and staff from our high schools to talk about the student representative policy and how to develop one. We haven't had one in the past, and we had a really good conversation, came up with some really good suggestions. One of the things we started with was each school was able to share what they're currently doing, how they identify school board student representatives, and then also to hear from students about what the experience has felt like, what are things we can do to improve upon it. And so that has been, that was really valuable. The next step is we're going to continue to work with the students to work on developing a draft policy that we can bring back to the full board for a first read. So again, it felt like ideal. I came with the policy idea in December just to get the conversation started. We got some really good input from all of you. We reviewed that in our minutes in our discussion tonight, so there's continuity from that previous discussion, and then from that we'll start to work on what the policy could look like. So that was a valuable time and also a less formal time to meet with students and to hear what they would like to see happen with the board and their involvement. So it felt like a lot of good information was shared. One thing I want you to have on your calendar is Thursday, February 16th from 4 to 5 p.m. We'll be having a Bessie Coleman renaming celebration at Bessie Coleman Elementary. Gigi Coleman, who is a descendant of Bessie Coleman's, will be there. And she's also going to be partnering with Evergreen Aviation while she's here in Oregon. She is a woman who has really encouraged other women to get into flight. Also as a person of color, and her experience, again, trying to encourage us to diversify that workforce as well. So it will be really exciting to have her there. Also, recently, the U.S. Mint is going to be coming out with a Bessie Coleman coin. So we've been contacted by the Mint to bring that out, to share about that, to communicate about that. So there'll be more to come about that as well. So again, with each one of these renaming celebrations, there's so many amazing things that happen from it, and so many ways that we've been able to build community well beyond what we had in the past. So it's been super powerful, and it's really been the highlight of that process for me. 2 more things. One is the Hands Across Corvallis, so that's another date for you. The foundation breakfast is happening this year on February 2nd, 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. at Corvallis High School in the Commons. So if you haven't been invited and would like to come, I know that there are folks who would love to have you come and join. So if you just want to catch me after the meeting and let me know, that would be great. Again, it's always a time that we get to hear from students and staff about the great things happening in the school district. I always leave feeling really recharged and energized by what people are doing, and so I would hope that if you have the opportunity, you join us for that. And then the last announcement is that next week the graduation results will come out, so I'll be sharing and communicating with you about that. As you know, they get validated in the fall or through the winter, and so usually they come out about this time, and this year they come out on the 26th. There's some exciting things within those graduation rates that we're going to want to highlight for you and share with you. They are not information that I can share right now because it's still embargoed, but I just want you to know to look for that on the 26th. So those were the things I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to share with you tonight. If you have questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions for Ryan?
I was just like, that's so cool about the Mint, the U.S. Mint. Like, who knew that that would have been a connection with one of the schools in the rename
I know.
process? That's amazing.
And
So
that they
that's
found
exciting. Yeah.
I know, it's, this, being the superintendent, there are so many experiences that you never think will happen in this job, and then something else new and unique happens, and being contacted by the Mint about the coin falls right into that category. So it's super cool, and something that, again, like when students have that coin in their pocket, they're gonna know the story. And again, that's the whole thing behind these renamings, is that students have a deeper understanding of history and a more broad understanding of history, and it connects day in and day out as they go about their lives. So that is really powerful, and just again an amazing opportunity. I think, the things I think about the last couple of years have been things like the pandemic, but also like meeting Catherine Jones Harrison and riding over to Pendleton with Eric Beasley to pick up beautiful works of art to be on display at the school, named after Letitia Carson. So it's just been, I think that you can think about what the name of a school represents, and then you can fully understand that, and that's the difference between what's happening.
Next, we have our reports from our student representatives. So we can just, if anybody wants to go first, you can jump in, but otherwise we'll just go down the line. You want to go ahead, Celia.
To start off, we just had an assembly today of students and staff sharing personal stories, insights, and coping strategies around mental health. People were kind, generous, and worked to destigmatize people navigating challenges. We're coming to the end of the first semester and are eager to get moving on some great work for the remainder of the year. For some highlights, we are starting 2 new academy courses for the second semester. Personal Finance is a course that will be team taught by a teacher and a community member. Students will learn the basics of banking, credit, investing, and planning for the future. They will also be learning to understand that money is a tool that can use to help themselves move forward toward achieving their goals, including delayed gratification, saving for the future, and making financial decisions that align with their values that will also be important parts of this course. Another class called D&D will be a role-playing course where students are designed to help some of our students to build skills in establishing interpersonal connections, navigating challenging social situations, and developing perseverance. Play as a learning tool is the model for this course, and we're excited to have this opportunity to add to our program. The construction program is getting close to completion of their micro shelters. Walls are up, electrical systems are installed, and they're really feeling like small homes. This has been a really exciting program, and we will be also resuming floriculture and environmentalship courses at the Harding site for second semester. We're really excited to get more kids working on the farm space and building a healthier world.
So we don't have that much to add because we did have winter break, but we are having the talent show tomorrow at 7 p.m. If anybody wants to come, it's at CV, and we're selling tickets at the door, and the theme is red carpet. Winter formal is coming up. I don't know the exact date, but I think it's sometime next week or towards the end of January. Second semester is ending soon. Tests are coming up, just wrapping up. We had a small spike ball tournament during lunch today and yesterday that was led by the leadership team. And for sports, winter sports are now fully on swing. Boys and girls basketball games were tonight, which is why Charlotte wasn't here. And track season starts in 6 weeks. There has been a few pre-workouts, but that's about it.
Okay. Coming out of winter break, we finished wrapping up our Winter Smiles program, and we sent out thank you cards to all our donors and appreciate what they donated. Our theater is putting on a production of Cinderella, which will start, I think their first production is the end of February, and it will go till like mid-March.
All right, so coming up, we do have our winter formal, like Zoe mentioned. It's going to be Saturday, the 28th. It will be combined with CV, and I think it's around 8 p.m. is when it's starting. The theme is Blizzard Ball. And at our school, at CHS, it is led by our sophomore class presidents, and they have been collaborating really well with the leadership at CV. For sports, they're going pretty well. Tonight we are here instead of at the basketball games against West Albany. And I know our girls basketball team is doing very well. They've been winning almost every game. Our junior class presidents are working very hard on getting prom all planned out. Our senior class presidents are working with all senior advisors to make sure graduation is on track. All students are working very hard right now. It's at the end of the semester to get their grades up and study for their midterms and finals.
I don't have a question as much as an idea. It would be great if we could come and visit and check out the micro shelters. That's something that maybe you and I can talk to Eric about, because it would be, and also something that maybe board members would be able to do as well, because I know that we've sort of watched it develop since the beginning of the school year, and so now it does feel like it's far enough along to have a visit. So maybe if you and I can think about that, maybe the beginning of next week, checking in with Eric, that'd be great.
And I just want to say thank you for coming early and taking the time to talk about your role with the board members and administrators who were there. It was really good conversation, and it was nice to talk informally for once. So, moving on then, the next item on our agenda is public comment. I will now open the meeting to the public hearing testimony portion of the meeting. The complete guidelines for public comment are available on the registration table at the back of the gym and on the board's website. I will share a few important points now. When it's your turn to speak, please come forward and have a seat, state your name, and direct your comments to the board. Speakers may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs, but the board will not hear complaints concerning individual district personnel. As a reminder, you will have 3 minutes to make your comments. We will alert you with the yellow light when you have 30 seconds left and the red light when your time is up. Following your comments, the board will have 3 minutes to ask clarifying questions. Before you start your comment, please state your name for the record and state whether you reside within the district boundary. So who do we have?
All right? Okay. Okay, en vez de que yo me mueva. Okay, gracias. Buenas noches, ¿cómo están? My name is Claudia Cano. I reside in Lebanon. I am a brown Latina, and I am the Dean of Students at Garfield Elementary. I am here with my fellow colleagues from both Garfield and Lincoln Elementary. We are both dual language schools, and I would like to thank the board for the support of our programs. Our programs highlight the importance of bilingualism, culturalism, and equity. And we hope that these issues stay on the forefront of our school board, and we look forward to working with you in this and any other capacities. That's it. Okay, gracias.
Thank you. I also appreciate all of you taking your evening to come to our meeting, and I love seeing the familiar faces. I miss all of you now that my children have moved on. So that was faster than I expected. I want to hear from more of you. But I've been told I have to make this meeting go fast. So the next item on our agenda is the charter school update with Josh.
I like these fancy microphones. It's what first thing that kind of sticks out to me as I came here tonight. This is a beautiful building. So it was really the first time I've been here since the remodel. So I mean, kudos to all of you that had the work done here because it's a really nice facility. And I also stuck out when I came in. When I really appreciate, I've been to different schools and different board meetings, but have the student representatives the table with everybody else is a really unique thing, and I think that's pretty awesome. So, and congratulations for you guys to be able to speak up in a public setting like that and share your ideas. I think that's really neat. So, that's something. Maybe get this a little closer. So what I thought I would do is I submitted in my annual report, and I'm assuming that everybody has, at least the board members have a chance to see it. I thought what I would do is go through and just highlight a couple of things, take a moment to kind of brag about some of the things I think we're doing pretty well at the school, and then finish with a chance for you guys to have some questions, individual things, and we'll go from there. First off, I was curious, how many people know where Muddy Creek Charter School is? All right, so that's the majority, Muddy Creek Charter School. So we are off Bell Fountain. I think we're about a 15-minute drive from here. It's a small rural school, beautiful setting. And I guess my next question is, how many of you have been there in the last 2 years? I think we need to change that. So when I had a chance to present last year, that was one of the things I really want to do is invite you guys to come out and see what we're doing there. Always welcome. You can call and set up a time to come in, or you're just welcome to even just come and drop in as well. So just to kind of see some of the unique things that we have there. Just as an overview, we are a K through 5 school. Our average class size is about 18 kids per group. We go up to about 20 to 21. Enrollment-wise, this year, we are up about 12 students over last year, which is nice. Typically, our kindergarten, first grade, we are full in those grades, but as we get second through fifth, we tend to lose a couple of students, and sometimes those are harder ones for kids to come to disrupt unless, families move into the area. I think what makes us really unique is we do pull students not just from Corvallis, but we have them from Albany. We also have them from Monroe, Philomath, so we do serve quite a few of the rural communities, and we give a kind of a unique learning environment in the fact that we are set out in just this beautiful area. So one of the things that we do is we get the kids outside a lot. Our surrounding area, we are very big into project-based learning, which also is something that we really have been a focus. I know during the pandemic that was something in our school that was really lost. It's kind of one of what makes us who we are and part of our vision statement. And I think with that, what really we have a unique ability with a small school too is collaboration between grade levels. So we have our kindergartners work with our fifth graders. They buddy up per reading. Third graders go in with first graders. And in project-based learning, they actually collaborate on a real-world problem, and they work together at their own levels to be able to solve some challenges, do some inquiry, still get the curriculum in. So it's really kind of a cool situation. And we actually did a training on it just before winter break and just had some cool ideas. We've got a project that we're going to be starting school-wide, hopefully by next month, where being a rural area, one of the things that we've had in the past is we've had chickens there. But we really haven't had an enclosure or ability to do it at a larger level. So our schools, all our classes are going to basically come together, and each class is going to take a different role in finding out, designing an enclosure, what are the costs, and then we'll get a chance to help build it. And then when we look at chickens, okay, what kind of food do we need? Eggs are a big deal right now too, so it's something you bring in some real world things is how this can help. So just kind of an example of some of that project-based learning that we do there and some things that make it pretty neat. This year was a lot better start than last year. I think that's true for a lot of schools because coming out of the pandemic was really tough. We had some momentum going at the end of last year, and something I'm pretty proud of is I think we returned 19 of our 20 staff members, all of our teachers and all of our specials, which was really, I think, good for the kids and good for the whole community. Something we offer, I mean, we're not as large, so we don't have lots of different programs, but we do have a half-time art teacher, we have a half-time PE teacher, we have a half-time agricultural science teacher, which is really neat. She's able to meet with every class every week and bring in different aspects of our kind of our rural community. And we also have a counselor full-time, and that's part of what's paying for from the SIA funds, which is really nice. And she goes into class every week, each class, and does some social emotional learning. So that's something I think it's pretty great for the kids to do as well. So with that, I mean, obviously we've had our challenges this year too. I would say one of our largest challenges has been some behaviors, and unfortunately, some of the areas we run into is we just don't have as much space that we would need to really have a space where we can have kids that can go when they need a break, an opportunity room, some space where they can just reset, get ready, and get back into learn. So, I mean, we're making do with it, but that's something that we've really been talking about as a school and with my board is what can we do to help with some of those, extreme behaviors or kids that just have challenges that, it's been tough. So that's something we're really working on. Check my list here, make sure I don't skip anything. Oh, I was going to talk just a little bit about assessments as well. We are aligned with the district as far as the STAR testing. We're going to go ahead and test our students for STAR. We did it in the fall. We're doing it in the winter and in the spring, just to make sure that we have that data to be able to support the things that we want to do. We use the same curriculum as Corvallis does we use the Bridges for math, and we use the collaborative classroom for reading, so we're aligned that way as well. As was last year, it's really helpful. We have had district people come out and help us that are experts in those areas. Been working closely with Melissa too. She's really supportive of that is on the other side too, so thank you for that extra support. We will be doing the Smarter Balance testing too coming up, as everybody else will too. So 3rd through 5th graders will make that happen. And I think what I just kind of want to close a little bit with there is I think what our biggest goal as we continue to move on is to continue the relationship in a positive way with the district. I mean, we're a charter school, so we're a little unique. There's things that we have some autonomy over, there's things that we don't, but I think having that connection between the two is really pretty powerful. And so I think I applaud you for, hearing me and, understanding what our needs are and always listening to. So thank you. Questions?
Okay, so you mentioned behavioral issues and not really having a space for students, and you were kind of trying to come up with some solutions, and that's not just a problem at your school, that's also a problem at CHS and many other schools. So I'm kind of wondering if you have any of those solutions you could share, or any ideas of kind of what to do, what to move forward, because in some of my classes, teachers have been asking the students what they think are good ideas, and we're kind of stuck too. We don't really have any ideas.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up, and I do want to recognize that too. We are not the only school, certainly with behavioral challenges. One of the things that our board is going to make an investment in, we talked about our last board meeting, was to set aside some money to bring in someone from the outside that can help with some of our behavioral support plans for students individually, because that we have, it's hard to, if you don't have someone who's an expert in the field of mental health to really come in and create something that's going to be effective. Often with kids with behaviors, I mean, kids, especially at elementary school, they want to learn, they want to be there. We recognize that, but there's just skills that sometimes are lagging where they're having a challenge to be able to get there and be able to access the curriculum. So our thing is if we can hit those individually and create those plans, I think it's going to be really important moving forward. So we're trying to contract with somebody right now from outside to come in, and we're also trying to work on a partnership with Oregon State University with some of their programs, especially with those that have an interest in mental health. A lot of the graduate students, and have them come in to get some real experience training. Of course, under the oversight of someone who, understands in the program, but give them some hours and also benefit us to be able to have some people that, with more adults or more specialists per kid, it really makes a difference. And then other side we were talking about is, can we bring in some sort of a modular, a building that's just set aside to be able to have that safe space or that quiet space where kids can go and reset and have somebody in there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. So you just mentioned, and also in your report, the collaboration with the school district, and you aligned the calendars so staff can have collaborative and professional development opportunities. Could you highlight one or two examples of those?
So at this point, what we've done is we've had people come in and specifically for curriculum and talk about, professionals, because some of the things, the resources the district have are people that specialize in different areas. So they've come in and they've worked with our staff to say, here's some resources, here's some things that you guys can use. This is some, if you have questions, to give a chance to really talk through it, and specifically, for our teachers, because of the ones that are learning this different program. So that would be one example with curriculum.
Wonderful, thank you.
Mhm.
Do you have an open day planned this year for the community to visit the school? I remember there was outdoors, nature, and open day at the school in 2017.
So we still working? Oh, okay. We had an open house earlier before the break where families came in and we did some different things, and we coincided with our book fair as well. And then we always do like a field day towards the end of the year where we encourage as much volunteer participation as we can to come in. We don't have anything specifically planned like you're talking about of just an open idea, but and if you come out to Muddy Creek, you'll notice we're a pretty open school. We have, quite a few parent volunteers and people that come in all the times with different talents that share it with the classrooms. So.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about the assessments you were talking about, and wondering if you're looking at some qualitative, did I say the right one? Yes.
Qualitative or quantitative?
The qualitative ones as well, to help tell the story of your school a little bit more too, in addition to like the quantitative, like the standardized testing, and if that plays a role in what you all are doing.
Yeah, and so it's interesting. We're a fairly small sample size, and we seem, in the majority of our grades, we're seeing a separation. We're seeing kids that are high and really achieved and thrived under the pandemic learning, were able to access learning, and then we have kids that unfortunately just didn't do much of anything for a couple of years. So we really have a lot of disparity between the two. So we're really working on pretty hard to bring those kids, obviously, that are low, put some interventions in, put some different support. We have a reading program that we put in place last year where classroom assistants are training those to work with small groups of kids to help get them up to grade level. And as far as actual numbers, I can send those. I don't have those in front of me right now, but I'd be happy to share those numbers if you want to see exactly where we're at.
It's not necessarily the numbers, it's more like the stories of what's going on in the school, like the experiences of the students, and to your assessments as well is kind of what I'm getting at. It'd be cool to see that in the future too.
Yeah.
We can chat more though, but.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question that's, you may not have these answers, but several years back when we were talking about Muddy Creek, immunization rates came up. And the immunization rates at Muddy Creek were quite low. And we've seen over the last couple of years how important following public health recommendations is. And I was wondering if there's been any outreach to families at Muddy Creek to encourage getting those health issues taken care of.
Yes and yes. It is something we certainly discuss, but on the other side of that coin, I don't know how to put this other than we tend to attract families that also are looking for something a little unique and a little different, and sometimes certain things like vaccinations, they're not in agreement with. And I know that our numbers for unvaccinated are higher than average, but I also know that they're not astronomical. But that we do have, quite a few families that opt not to do that. So I don't know if that really, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but
It was just something that I was thinking of, is in your report, you mentioned your issues with attendance and things, and as things like flu shots are available that help with some of those issues. I was thinking back to previous conversations about Muddy Creek and tools we have.
yes, yes. So,
So I was just curious about the ag science aspect. So I know you talked about the chickens and the chicken coops. Are there other examples that having someone with a ag science specialty has been able to bring to your school that you feel particularly proud of?
So I know with our ag science teacher, she's just now in her second year of doing this. One of the projects I know that we did just before break is the kids were able to spend a lot of time on one of the local industries, which would be Christmas trees, because we have Christmas tree farms that surround us. They're able to visit those tree farms. They're able to kind of see the process of what happens, how much time it takes to go into that process, and then kind of go through it. We did the same thing with filberts when it was filbert season too, or hazelnuts, because we have local hazelnut areas, so we're able to go and visit, explore, and bring it in. With our younger kids, of course, they go to the pumpkin patch and they go and explore some of the local farms, and they get a chance to kind of see the process of where it goes from the planting all the way through. And not just in field trips, we also have garden space. We have a greenhouse, and the kids go out and actually plant things and then watch them grow. We have tulips that'll be coming up anytime that all the kids got to go a chance to go and plant them in different areas. We have a full garden. Sunflower garden was put in last year. So we have quite a few things that we do locally, and then we go and visit to it. So I think what's really unique about it is just for the kids at a young age to go out and really see, where does our food come from? What is the process? What is really involved with it? Because it's really easy for a lot of kids to say, well, food, it comes from the supermarket, or this is what it is. But I think it's pretty eye-opening. And we have quite a few families that are involved with agriculture. That's their livelihoods. They're happy to come in and share, too, and invite us to those places. All right. Thank you guys again.
Okay, next is our bond update.
I would like to introduce to you our project coordinators. On my right is Kieran Spellman. He has been working on, he was project coordinator for this school for Bessie Coleman, let's see, Catherine Jones-Harris, Letitia Carson, Adams, and Mountain View. And Patrick Linhart, who has been project manager for Crescent Valley High School, Sheldon Middle School, Corvallis High School, Franklin Elementary School, and College Hill High School. So he's working on those. So we are going to, let me try again here. Okay. So as we go through the PowerPoint update, each of the project managers are going to share their details with you directly. So.
Okay, so Adams Elementary, I understand that some of you might have visited here last week. Significant amount of work has taken place here over the last 3 or 4 weeks over the Christmas period. You'll notice in the top left corner there, the gymnasium. The gym has been completely painted, new light fixtures, all the acoustical and FRP has been put on the walls since we took over the gym the last day of school. The rubber flooring, the Mondo flooring is being installed this week, and we will turn it back over to the school on Monday. We will take it back over again, probably spring break, to do the striping on the floor. That's a specialized activity, and there's only a few in the Northwest, and trying to get that subcontractor on site to do it in a timely manner has been difficult to procure. So we're going to turn the gym back over to the staff so that they can use it. The picture on the right-hand side is a renovated library. This has been operational for a few months now. We put the operable partition, or the acoustical partition, up between the makerspace and the library during Christmas break. The makerspace is actually being used as the gym right now while we were taking over the gym itself. The bottom picture is the new classroom addition, which is coming along pretty nicely. It is early June, so we will not have the quick push or the final push like we have had at all the other schools for operating or setting up these classrooms, so that will be nice for this summer. This is some of the work that took place during the Christmas break. So you'll notice the left-hand side is what the corridors looks like before, when school finished at the end of December. Both corridors, the primary wing and the intermediate wing, or the kindergarten wing, have both been painted. Acoustical panels have been placed on the ceilings, and tack panels and FRP have been put down the corridor walls. So these are pretty much finished. There's a little bit of cleanup work left to do, but these are pretty much complete. And then the admin space here. So we delayed the opening of the admin space for a week. It was supposed to be open the first day of school. We felt that to make it a better transition for the staff, that we would hold it off a week. They actually moved in on Tuesday. They moved in over the weekend, and they started operating as of Tuesday. So this admin space is exactly the same as the other JAWS projects. So Catherine Jones and Letitia Carlson, same setup. And so as far as I know, they've had no issues moving into this space, and it's going along pretty nicely. The right-hand side is the cover play structure. This was completed before Christmas, and during the Christmas break, we finished the ball wall that you can just about see in the picture there. There's still significant work associated with this play structure. We won't paint it until the summer months, when the weather's warm enough for the paint to adhere to the steel, and the roof still needs to be put on and the lighting. All that will take place after hours or during non-school days over the next couple of months. Mountain View. So Mountain View had multiple things occurred during the Christmas break also. You'll notice we also completed some hallway finishes. So we did a little bit more work here than just the tack panels and the FRP and the acoustical panels. We also polished the concrete slab floors here during the Christmas break. We have not completed all the corridors at Mountain View. We're holding off on sections that are attached to the new construction so that we don't damage finishes. The left-hand side is the framing that's coming along for the new science classrooms. This is being, the roof sheathing is being put on, and so we're planning to start roofing this here in the next couple of weeks. So this is the gym. We took over the gym for Christmas break. We were able to do all the abatement on the gym floor. So the abatement of the gym floor was completed to Christmas. And we also completed all the abatement work inside the old stage area, demoed the stage, did the abatement work there. And so the left-hand side is the stage, and then the right hand is the gym. The gym has now been turned back to the school, and they will continue to use the gym until the weather allows us for them to do PE outside. So we will probably hold this until early May, and then we'll get a jump start on all the finishes over over the summer break in the gym. The stage area, which will be turned into the music room, will start work here shortly, and we will be May, June, so it might just be right there at the end of the school year. And then this is 2 pictures of the admin space. So this is, you see the firewalls and the structural masonry there. We're now framing the roof structure. This was taken earlier in the week, and they've been... this area continue through with our plan is to turn this over sometime early to mid-May so that we can then demo the modular where the admin space is right now so that we have a jump start on the summer activities. There's a few things out at Mountain View we have to complete it during the school year if we've got any chance of completing the parking lots during the summer. One of them is to get rid of that modular that's out there being used for the office. The other one is a large 40,000-gallon at the front of the school, which is for fire water. And then we also have a detention pond that actually goes out in the field next door to the school. Those 3 activities we need to get done before the summer so that we can have a chance of completing the summer parking lot work.
I'm going to add that the water tank is because we are on a well system. So in order to do fire protection, we have to have that extra water stored on site.
And then this is the left-hand side is the classrooms. During the Christmas break, we were able to replace all the light fixtures, so you now have LED lights in all the classrooms. We were also able to install the ceiling fans. So that work was completed over the Christmas break. The right-hand side is the structural work that's associated with the 4 classrooms in the old existing building, just off of, I guess, the corridor to the cafeteria. That is, we've finished the structural work. We have been trying with it throughout the rain this week to get the roof completed. Once the roof is completed, then we can start the finishes in here. And our hope is to try and turn this over just before spring break so that the employees in the existing office space can be moved into these classrooms so that we can start some abatement work in that existing office over spring break.
So I'll editorialize a little bit. I heard him use the term Jaws, and it takes me back to 2019 because at that time it was Jefferson, Adams, and Wilson. And so some of you may not have heard that term before, but it just goes to show you how far we've come from 2019. And when I started then, my first job in June was the structural seismic upgrade of Adams. And it was a little out of sequence, but we had the seismic grant funds that we were able to procure, and they needed to be used at a certain amount of time, but we weren't ready to do the rest of the work. So my first job was one of the structural upgrades to Adams, and now to see the pictures of it, it felt really funny not finishing it, and when walking away, and then we came back years later, and folks probably ask, why did we do that? But that was because the funds needed to be used in a certain time frame. But I'm on Franklin here, and we've come a long way there. You can see the pictures of the new health room and the new front office desk. And what you will probably start to notice is that the district has really created some consistency from school to school. You know, these front desks look really similar. The health rooms are generally looking the same. And that was not the case when we first started with the school district here in 2018. So.
The windows.
The windows, yes. We got a lot of the windows in during the regular summer, and as supply chain issues go, the operable portion of the windows was not available, and so we had plywood squares in 2/3 of the bottom half of a lot of these windows, and so then over winter break, we were able to get in and get those windows swapped out. I'll talk fast, so for the battery. This is our gym. Again, you can see the floor is similar. That striping there is actually just the gym teacher putting some stripes down because we were also not able to procure the striping person. And actually, we're looking at doing some different things with basketball hoops, but you can see where they've written the operable wall in there. Again, another consistency across the district. Typically, our gyms are separating another space, and that is due late April. So it really means it's probably not going to install until summer because it's a disruptive process. Same thing with the roll-up door you see, well, you don't see on the left, and that is because it's delayed, and that seems to be a thing for a couple of projects now where overhead doors are a real challenge to get, and they've delayed at least 3 months out usually by the time we get to some point. That's okay. Nope. You can see, again, some wood wainscot we've added. On the left, we've got the lost and found / cubby area. The picture in the middle is a display cabinet. The picture on the right is kind of our refreshed look of the hallway. We put some new lockers in. We got new FRL panels on the right. And we're still working on some wood wainscot that will go in between the lockers on the left there. And we've got our wood bench there on the bottom right that came from a beam from this school here, and the school district has done that.
I am so sorry. I didn't realize I was short on power.
So just a quick story on the new bench there. The reclaimed wood came out of the old Lincoln gymnasium. The pity is that we've actually put benches in Catherine Jones, Letitia Carlson. We got one just being installed at Adams. We put one at Franklin. We have a beam left over for Mountain View, but we never put one in either of the two new schools. So, and especially here at Lincoln, we never even put one in. But there is reclaimed lumber from Lincoln's elementary school in a large majority of your elementary schools in the building, in the district.
Yeah, so I'll fill in here while she's loading back up, but the Franklin, we have quite a few activities that are still yet to come, and sometimes the challenge is finding an opportunity to do the work. We have some more wood wainscoting to put in. We have some more tackable wall surface, and the glues and some of those processes are just a little bit too disruptive to do when students are around, staff. And so it forces us out to find these opportunities where there's 3 days of conferences. And honestly, I felt bad. It seems like every conference session on the projects that I've been involved with, we're shooing the teachers and the staff off to the side so we can sneak in a little bit more work. And I'm sure you guys are all anxious to just have normal conferences again. And maybe in the fall we can start that again. But here again, good job bringing her back up. We got the new science area. We got 6 sinks in the room. Everybody's excited to get into this space and start using it, and they have already. This space was pretty ready to go at the beginning of winter break, and just doing those finishing touches with getting projectors and that sort of thing installed. There's still some missing tack board in this room and just a couple of little things like that. You don't see a picture of the library. We've turned the library back over, and they're loading it up with books, and it'll be a couple more weeks here before they're ready to bring staff in. The new staff workroom, again, pretty consistent. Everywhere you go now, we got a nice work platform in the center and a laminator out there, and just the staff seem to really appreciate that. We got some staff lockers in the back there. Mailboxes were something that staff was really excited about at Garfield, and everywhere we go, it doesn't seem like a big thing, but everybody getting their information. Transitioning to College Hill, this school we tried to do more than we could afford, and so then it caused this project to push out toward the tail end of the bond, and we ended up value engineering some things, and we've got Todd Construction out there. We call this area the reception area on the left, but it's really where the students will be eating. But there's some terminology things with calling it that. So we've really opened this up. The wall that you see there on the left, we're going to have 2 windows that go to the outside that we're still working on. We have completely removed all of the students from this school for the year. And many of you know we have them over at Western View and the district office, and some urban farm folks are still out there doing their thing, and it feels like it's going pretty well. I know Urban Farm has been happy, and I haven't been hearing anything coming out of Western View, and we've got a tour set up for the construction class at College Hill. We're going to run them through and let them see the building as it's all gutted out here just next week, and talk a little bit about career paths and stuff like that with the students in those classes. On the right is your typical shear wall. You take a classroom, and some of them, you have to throw some plywood on there and some strapping to reinforce the building from lateral loads.
For seismic upgrades.
Seismic upgrades, there you go. Just more intense electrical upgrades, new electrical room. Got to run out to different locations. You were looking at the open area of the reception room earlier on the previous slide, and then this is a slide of Kieran and myself showing our company president around before the shoring came out. And I don't know exactly what I'm pointing at there, but outside we've got a new outdoor classroom that's being built on the right-hand side there. Those CMU walls are just kind of protect the open area for some wind, but what we'll have is in those footing holes, we have steel columns that go up and a roof that's 14 foot high, so that we can build outdoor structures or structures within them outdoors. We don't have a slab in this area. The asphalt paving goes through, so there's quite a bit of work to do before that starts to take shape. On the left-hand side, we're projecting some sidewalk through on 33rd that didn't have it was more of just a pedestrian pathway across the grass. City required us to put a 10-foot wide multi-use pathway in there, so that's some work getting done there. And eventually that'll tie into Polk Avenue.
I can do that. So one of our main tasks over the next couple of weeks is to fully update and understand where we are budget-wise. So both Patrick and I are fully engaged with the contractors right now, getting to the bottom of all the costs presently so that we can give you a fully updated forecast next month. We are anticipating an increase in our forecasts, reducing our bond reserves, but right now we don't know where that is, as we're still working with the contractors. And we are operating within our available funds to meet all the bond promises. So remaining work, and I'll go through the 3 schools up there that I'm involved in. So Adams Elementary, as I indicated, is we're continuing, except for turnover of the gym next week, the music room a little later in the year. I'm not sure if Peter's actually going to use the music room this year. He doesn't want to move a classroom out of the modulars, so I think it will stay empty and through the school year. That's the only work left inside that we've got to turn over. The new addition, as I indicated earlier, is on schedule to be complete early June. And then we have some site work around the addition to complete over the summer. So our plan, or Fortis's plan, is to be out of the site by mid-July. So that should give the school plenty of time to get moved in on a very timely manner. Mountain View is a little different in the fact that there is significant work we have to do in the summer. We are not able to, because of the tight complexity of the site, we can't do any of the site work until school's out. And if you've seen the plans, you'll know that all the parking lots out front and the bus turnaround and all that gets completely redesigned. So there is significant work that we will jump on as soon as school's out. We are pushing, and Fortis is pushing, because they do not want to go into another school year, to be complete by the end of the summer with that turnover. The additions are both on schedule actually to be complete early in the summer. As I said, the admin is supposed to be turned over before school's out so that we can move the 2 members of staff from the modular into the admin. The science wing is probably going to be about the same time frame, so it will be finished probably before the end of the school year. So that one will be another easy transition in the academic spaces. The gymnasium, because we're not going to take it till May, will have a couple of months worth of some seismic work and then some finishes like all the other gyms, the acoustical panels on the walls, the light fixtures. So that one will go into the summer, but the plan is for Fortis to be completely off-site by the start of the school year. Bessie Coleman, the Aspen intersection. You're probably fed up hearing about this. It's been in the works for over a year now. We finally, I think, got an agreement with a plan to move forward with the city as of yesterday. We are moving forward and making sure the sequence that both we've gone over with the school and with the city makes it safe routes to school the priority. So that is making the sequence of the work a little bit more challenging. But our plan and our hope, and a lot of this has to do with some help from ODOT, and that's why we've pushed forward so quickly in the last few weeks. ODOT's got involved and has really helped us out with some planning, that we should be able to turn that intersection over sometime mid to late March.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you really quickly. So some of the students asked about leaving early since you showed up at 5 this evening. So I want to give you the opportunity to bow out if you would like to. Unfortunately, the next item on our agenda is the dress code policy. So if you really want to stay for something, it's next. But do not feel like you need to.
Okay, and then I'll run quickly. I realize we're running along here. Sheldon, we pretty much completed what we needed to do over winter break. We have some testing and commissioning work that's going on in the background, but no construction. College Hill is on schedule for turning over this summer, and we'll just see a lot of transformation out there in the next 6 months. Franklin as well, the lion's share of the work is done there. You'll see some of the overhead doors going in or the operable walls. We will do some exterior painting, and it'll look sharp here, but that'll be in the summer when we get some good weather.
Question?
So as these two or three finish up, I just wanted to, again, you've had Dale come and meet with you about once a month for the last 4 years. And so to have Patrick and Kieran here tonight to, again, share, because they have been close to the work, really involved in it over the years. It's nice to have you both here and to be able to appreciate the fact that we are still continuing to make progress. We're continuing our bond promises. It's been a great ride, and as we come close to the end, I'm glad that you were both able to be recognized for all the hard work that you've put in over the years. So again, thank you for everything you've done.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Does anyone else have questions?
Scared me. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
At College Hill, there's part of the building, like half of the building, where it isn't earthquake safe, and us kids were not allowed to go in there. And I was wondering if you guys are going to do any renovation on that area.
Yeah, when I said that we tried to do more work than we could afford, that's a section that we were hoping to do the seismic upgrade on, which would then allow students to go in that space, but there just wasn't enough funds, so we had to pull that work back. So that space will continue to be used by staff for CIMC materials, and the rest of the school will be renovated for student use.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, that we wanted to do that as an addition to our bond promises. So when we went through our long-range facilities master planning, it was just really cost costly to do that two-story portion, and so we wanted to focus our funding in where students could really see all of the improvements and impact the learning spaces. So we are meeting our bond promises, just not being able to open that two-story portion. Thanks for asking the question.
I just wanted to say I'm glad you two came to present, and I appreciated hearing from you, and wanted to say thank you for all the work. It's always awesome to see these updates, and as always, thank you, Kim, too, for the updates. But I was appreciated you two coming tonight, too.
One I could appreciation, what a journey, and reflecting on all these years. It's 2018 when we passed the bond, so your partnership is really appreciated, and the community will benefit from it for generations to come. I have two questions. The first one is Franklin restrooms. I noticed the restrooms design is slightly different than the other upgrades, and I wonder if they're compliant with the gender neutral policy, or if not, was there any cost or space limitation that's prevented us from remodeling a restroom to a gender neutral?
So we did implement our new student restroom design. It's slightly different based on the location in the building, but it meets all of the design criteria for our new restrooms. So we prioritize the restrooms that were down by the gymnasium, that end where the middle schoolers are, and funding-wise, we just couldn't do both sets, so we really prioritized doing one set at every school. The other bathroom, according to our bond promises, did get a light refresh. That was the terms that were used in the bond promise, which was like paint, lighting, and we did refurbish the fixtures so that they're in good working order.
Wonderful.
And new epoxy floor, thank you, yeah. They look great. They've got a blue speckled finish and then blue partitions for the new restroom partitions, so they look really good.
Awesome, thank you. I'm wondering about the reuse of the beams from Lincoln. It's a great story. After 10 years, is it going to be continued to be told? Is there going to be placard or educational material? How are we preserving the knowledge that we have about the reuse and sustainability, especially with that aspect? Or is it worth it to do that?
Yeah, I think that warrants, I haven't thought about it yet, to be frank, Sammy, but I think it warrants a plaque on those benches that says where it's from and what the significance is.
Thank you.
So we can work on that.
Wonderful, thank you so much.
You know, I want to express my appreciation to you for coming this evening also. It's good to see you here. It's also really good to see all these things being, the schedule for turning all these things over, that it really feels like we're starting to wind things up after a long 4 years now. So thank you for all the work you've done. You're really helping us graduate students. So thanks. So the next item on our agenda is policy JFCA, the dress code policy. It's the first read of this new policy.
And it might not, we might need to go more than 2 reads on this policy, and I'm totally fine with that. I understand that there's a lot of zhuzhing that needs to happen with it. These are the notes I took the last time we were here, with all kinds of things that I had to make sure were in the policy, and I think I got almost everything in, but now I need to turn it over to you all to hear what you think of what's written. I have questions too. I got some from Sammy and some from Sarah. I'm more than happy to answer those to the best of my ability. I will say, okay, can you all hear me? Okay. The one thing that I will say is the hardest part of this was the contradiction of girls want to wear their sports bras for practice, but does that mean that boys have to cover their top as well for practice? It was a question that we'd had before, so that one was really hard, and I know that kind of like leans into your question about athletics and your question about athletics too. So those were challenges I have, and I'm looking for any kind of guidance or help with that as well.
questions or? Lou, yeah.
I thought it was pretty good, Melissa. I don't
Thank
know.
you.
Like it was, I didn't think you needed to do a bunch of like 500 reads of it. I feel like you really brought in a lot of what we said, so I just wanted to appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
And understand the complexity of what you're asking and how that can fit in as a subsection. The one that I had a comment on was on number 4, where it says clothing does not use or depict hate speech targeting. I'm wondering if we should put symbols in there, because that's also, that may not be, it doesn't have the words, but it counts as hate speech. But being really specific, I think, would be really helpful.
Okay, thank you.
That was actually my only comment.
Oh my
Can
gosh.
you believe that, Melissa?
Can you repeat that for me?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not speak in here very good?
No, I was
Okay.
I was checking in on things.
Okay. It says hate speech on number 4, and I would say maybe we should include and symbols. That's consistent with other like state
other
policy
policy.
stuff too. Yeah.
Well, I want to build on that, cross-referencing our policies related to incident bias response and all student belong might be a good aspect to include here.
So I did in the top, the opening sentence, is all of the policies that we talked about: non-discrimination, every student belongs, and racial educational equity.
Perfect. I think that, yeah, that's fulfills it. Now a question about really grappling with the athletics aspects.
Yes.
I don't know what's the answer. One element that I know well, I heard of, I'm not an expert in it, is that in many sports now they have found it's more efficient to have swimsuits that cover more elements of the body, but also I really grapple about requiring that from the students.
Right, and I don't, what I read when I wrote this and the research I've done, I don't feel like this policy says that the athletic contest uniform has to abide by these rules. I feel like the last statement in the policy that said students who represent the school in a voluntary activity may be required to conform to dress and grooming standards and may be denied the opportunity to participate if those standards are not met. I feel like that is covering the requirements from whichever, if it's OSAA right now, but whichever group that we're affiliated with when it comes to our organized sports. I felt like we were covered there, so I don't know if that is enough in your opinion.
I feel it's a challenge because in those standards, they might be bias based on gender, and we are not tackling that bias.
Yeah, and that's not, that's for OSAA and others to tackle. I know they have some new non-discrimination language in their handbook. I was looking at it today in response to this question. So I know that they've done some work on there and specifically about, hair and what that can be when it comes to competition.
I had a question on what it means for like grooming standards. I guess I kind of I get the dress code thing. I just don't know what it means to like follow grooming standards.
That's just a carryover from this policy when we first had it in 1999, I think. Yeah, when it was first adopted in 99. And even it says dress and grooming in the standard policies from OSBA. If that's something that just seems like something we need to delete, what I wanted to do after this conversation was send this over to OSBA to have them take a look anyway with the question about athletics, but I can ask that question too, Zoe.
That seems like it can come out, I would bet, because of especially with a lot of the new laws and rules around hair especially. And so I think that could help cover some of students who may not have access to showers too, that may be discriminated against. So
exactly.
Maybe that one could come. That's a good catch, Zoe.
So potentially just saying responsibility for dress primarily. Is that what you're saying, to drop
No, drop
in the title.
I think drop the grooming part.
Oh, in the title as well as in the...
Just the grooming.
And I can also take out grooming in other parts, like where you see that responsibility for dress and grooming, I can take out that
at the
too.
beginning of the 4th paragraph, that's what I was referencing.
So I know your question, Sarah, was around how can you address concerns if the policy isn't being implemented or enforced the way that it's meant to be? And I wanted to put out there the thinking about that as a bias incident and the ability for students to report that as such. So if you're if you're a young woman and you're being told you can't wear something because but that's a violation of the policy, I feel like would be a bias complaint. Did you have other thoughts?
Yeah,
around
no,
that?
I sort of thought that's where it would fall. I'm wondering if we should call that out somewhere, that,
Okay.
you know, incidents where this is not being applied
Mhm.
equitably across different student populations, that, that's an incident of bias and should be
Okay.
addressed following this, or
Following
the
that
policy
procedure
the
process.
bias policy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Zoe had another question too.
Okay, I guess I don't know if this is redundant, but I'm just a little confused on like the discussion about dress code around during sports. I'm a little confused on what.
Yeah, I am too, to be honest. That was the part that was really hard for me to work through. I did a lot of research on different school districts across the country, what they're doing, talking about practice versus the competition versus just being in school. So this is about being in school, but practice is another place. I mean, that happens on school grounds for the most part, and that would mean that this dress code policy would apply to that practice as well if it's at school. I've seen other districts that have said things like, I think one of the biggest issues is cross country or track. Young men taking off their shirts to run long distance, but then much of that running is happening off campus. There's some districts who have said, if you're off campus, you can take off your shirt, but once you get back to campus, you have to put your shirt back on. I didn't really want to get into something so granular in the policy because it should be more broad, but so I am struggling with that. I don't feel like that's really resolved.
Well, and that leaves the bathing suit question too.
Yes.
The bathing suit question, where men's bathing suits and women's bathing suits cover different body parts.
And I just don't know that this policy is responsible for what your uniform is when you compete. The question I think, Zoe, you're getting to is what can you wear when you're practicing on campus? Is that kind of where you're going?
Well, yes, and also I guess I don't see like the issue with like either the boys like having their shirt off and women using bras. I don't feel like that's particularly controversial. I mean, regardless of gender identity, obviously there's like simple anatomy, and I feel like they're both fine. And when whatever like the school dress code is, sports obviously it's also for like a student's health to be properly like clothed, or like not even like covered, but like you're not going to run with 5 jackets on, because that's probably not even healthy for a student. And even in like competitions, obviously like in track, you're gonna wear a certain type of clothing so that you can even perform your best. So I just, I don't know, I don't think it should be that big of an issue, but yeah.
I think what I heard the last time was our young women want the ability to be able to wear a sports bra for practice. They shouldn't be told they have to put a shirt on over their sports bra. And quite honestly, this policy, you could wear a sports bra at school. There's
But a boy
nothing.
can't
There's
take off
nothing
his
that says
shirt.
you can't. So why couldn't you be able to do that in practice? But then the counter to that is, if we're going to be very specific about saying, that what needs to be covered, what a personal private part is, as it's outlined here, then what do you do for boys? Yes.
Yeah, I guess that's what I meant about like anatomy. I mean, I understand the talk about gender identity, but also understanding that like what's going to be considered a private part for like the general female body and the male body is different. And I think like saying nipples for men and women, obviously they're two different things when it comes to the human body. So I think even like generalizing them as a whole is what the problem is, and like they're different. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
this is just me thinking about this issue. I'm wondering if in that last sentence, students who represent the school in a voluntary activity may be required to conform to dress standards specific to that activity, so that it calls out that the dress standards for that activity, whether it's track or swimming or whatever, may have, those standards will be different based on the sport that's being.
That's
or the
good. I
activity
wrote that
that's
down.
being-
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Anything else? I thought it was really good.
Thank you.
Therese?
I'm still thinking. I'm reevaluating what I thought about the subject around the sports bras and the no shirt, and I
Yeah.
don't know that I have landed anywhere
Okay.
yet. My struggle is that we're really talking about like socially constructed differences of anatomy, and so like parts have a name, and we've named some parts in
Yeah.
the policy, and so on that level, it seems like I can understand why we would then be looking at that consistency, but I also understand that those actions of being shirtless as a young man at track practice versus a young woman being in a sports bar are not interpreted the same way.
Right.
And so that is relevant, and I guess I don't know, now I think I just don't have I guess what I want to say is that I don't think we should be presuming that every young man is comfortable with
Oh, no.
other young men having their shirts off
This is
either,
true.
or that there isn't the potential of contributing to some issues related to body image and the potential of the way in which those kids might interact with each other around that. And so I don't want to lose sight of that piece. And the whole running off I hadn't even thought about if they go running off campus, like what do we do? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess technically speaking, I'm not sure what you do, although like practically speaking, if they're doing it as part of sports and they're expected to be under the leadership of the school representative, then I feel like that really shouldn't be different.
Right.
So it feels a little inconsistent to say, well, when you get off campus, you
Yeah.
can take your shirt off, but you
Right.
have to put it back
Back
on when you get
walk
here.
out. Yeah.
If the same person, the same adult is meant to be responsible for those kids in that space. So
Right.
I don't know. I don't have any answers. I
It's
just
okay.
have
You don't have to have an
questions.
answer. I just want, I'm glad you're thinking about it.
Go ahead, Tina.
I have a question about following through with policy with our students who are under gender identity and gender expression, and if they've had gender affirming surgery and they identify as a female at that time, are they going to be penalized for not wearing a top, like a sports bra, or because it says cover nipples?
Right.
How are we gonna? I mean, how are we gonna teach the staff to, not penalize somebody just because, you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of learning that needs to happen.
I was wondering the same thing about because since we're talking about specifically cisgender boys
Yes.
taking off their shirts, how trans boys would be able to do the same, and if they would be discriminated against. So I think that we're talking about a lot of things in this, but I don't know if it really fits in the policy at the same time. And I understand why we specified these specific things for when they're in school. And so I don't know if there needs to be something separate about athletics.
Okay.
If it's it feels like a completely different
Yes.
policy, actually.
And we have a policy on interscholastic activities. In fact, it's going to be coming up for a look in February. And so, I mean, there might be a place here where we can be clear about uniform and practice uniform.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's just a separate thing.
Yeah.
Because it seems like it is, because you can't do the same thing for both, because they're different circumstances.
Okay.
It seems like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Vince, if you want to be part of this discussion, you can come join us. It's very slow today, so.
So, go ahead, Sammy.
Sorry, a challenge I'm having around the intention of the policy
Yeah.
is students feel, regardless of their gender identity, beyond the binary as well, they can participate, and we're going to treat them equally, and the expectation of them will be equal. And I can see this policy achieving that until they need to participate in a physical activity or participate in a practice or potentially a competition as well. And I want the intention to carry through to that.
Okay.
And I wonder what's the answer. I don't think we have the answer, but I want us to keep that intention, because the unintended consequence of not following it through and addressing it through swimming or running or field and track is the students who are discriminated against because they don't fit the binary, the cis binary, they will end up stepping away from athletics. And that's the whole intention of the dress code, is full participation. So that's the goal, and I know it's a very ambitious goal, but I think we need to strive to go there, even with these, especially for these activities.
Okay.
And I don't know why, how.
Thank you.
So I think in terms of next steps, sharing it with OSBA as well as OSAA, because I also know there's conversations about swim caps and other aspects to participation in athletics. And so I would think it would be important to weigh in with both organization, because I also want to make sure that if there's things we need to advocate for with OSAA, we can do so. And I also don't want to create a policy that creates a situation where students in some ways are disqualified or
Right.
not able to participate. And I think there's ways we can go about working with OSAA around that. But until we've reviewed the policy with them, I think that's sort of left unknown.
Okay. We're all looking at you, Vince.
I know you're all looking at me, and I don't think I was actually, as I was driving back over here to join you, I don't know that, I think you have covered everything that I noticed in this. So I don't think I'm going to belabor it. I know that we're at time.
Okay.
The general consensus was that Melissa wrote a pretty darn good policy.
That was in my notes, yes.
Thank you.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess. And when we return, we will have our public hearing for testimony regarding the supplemental budget. So we will return at 8:12. I will now open the public hearing for testimony on resolution number 230101, supplemental budget. Do we have any public comment? So I will now, since we have no comments, the public hearing is now closed. And we will move on to our discussion of the supplemental budget for general fund and special revenue fund. With Olivia.
Okay. I'm not going to add a whole lot to what was included in your board packet, but I did want to just call out the reason why we had to have a public hearing prior to your review of and adoption of this resolution is because we are modifying our special revenue fund by more than 10%. The majority of those changes in that fund have to do with the allocation of emergency connectivity funding that we received in, I think, like May of last year. And you took action at that time to approve a handful of new computer hardware leases. So we basically got a lot of federal funding and were able to replace all of our student and staff devices. And so this is kind of catching us up to reflect all of those actions as they took place after we put our budget together. There was another grant we received, the retention and recruitment grant. That information came to us also after we had put our budget together for the year, and so just kind of reflecting the acceptance of that grant and the use of those funds. In the general fund, most of the changes there are just to reflect the fact that we made some shifts of staffing to support students with IEPs into our IDEA grant. So the grant allocation we've been receiving and what we've been spending has been a little bit unaligned, and so we needed to make some shifts to start using the grant funds, more grant funds, and so we shifted some special ed staffing from the general fund to the IDEA grant, just to kind of get us back on track with the spending of those funds as well. So I think a lot of that just happened over COVID. We had a lot of unfilled positions and vacancies, and so just sort of getting that cleaned up. I don't have anything else to add unless there's specific questions.
I do actually have a question. I'll put you on the spot, and I should have given this to you ahead of time. So because this is a shift towards grant funding and supporting positions, I just have some questions about sustainability of those funds and those positions. And that's my question is, these are grant funds, are those ongoing grants or are these one-time monies?
Yeah, so the items related to the computer hardware, the devices, the emergent, that's all just one-time grant money and kind of a one-time unusual transaction for us, and that the volume of which we made that transaction. For the IDA, that is an ongoing allocation. So like historically the last couple of years we've underspent in that, and so we sort of needed to make a permanent shift so that as we move along we sort of correct that.
Great, thank you very much. Now I'd like to make a motion if no one else, any other questions? Any other questions? Would you like to make a motion? I'd love to. Madam Chair, I move that the resolution number 230101 be adopted to amend budgeted resources and appropriations in the general fund and special revenue fund.
So it has been moved by Director Adams and seconded by Director Jones that we adopt the resolution number 230101, the supplemental budget for the general fund and special revenue fund. Director Adams, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Director Whitebear?
Aye.
Director Baker?
Aye.
Director Jones?
Aye.
Director Tomini?
Aye.
Director Alabdaba?
Aye.
And I vote aye. That passes unanimously. Thank you, Olivia. Now we are on to I thought there was something else in here, but maybe not. The budget parameters. Yeah, I guess they're in the consolidated action, but if anybody would like to pull them out and talk about them, we can do that. Or we can, does anyone have anything else in consolidated action that you want to, do we have a movement? A movement, does anyone want to make a movement?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'd like to make I move to approve consolidated action.
Second.
It's been moved. Sorry. By Director Adams and seconded by Director Alabama that we approve the items in consolidated action. Director Adams, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Director Whitebear? Aye. Director Baker?
Aye.
Director Jones? Or,
Aye.
Yeah. Jones. Director Tomini?
Aye.
Director Alabama?
Aye.
And I vote aye. That passes unanimously.
For the
Thank
record,
you
I'm not
very
sure I
much.
actually answered you before I started laughing, so just, I'm going to say aye.
Okay, thank you. Good, thank you, Olivia. Now we have consolidated information. Does anybody have anything they would like to pull out of consolidated information for discussion? No? With that, we will move on to board member comments. Does anyone have anything they wish to share? No? With that, I guess we are adjourned. 8:22.
Teresa, you want to coffee?